Hi, my name is Chuck, and today's lesson is on phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs. So, in this lesson, first of all, we're going to define a phrasal verb. So, what is a phrasal verb? And then we're going to discuss why it's important to learn phrasal verbs. And then lastly, we're going to look at some examples of phrasal verbs and their meanings, as well as how they can be used in a sentence. So what is a phrasal verb? Well, a phrasal verb is an idiomatic phrase consisting of a verb and another element. So the other element would either be an adverb or a preposition. So for example, if we took a phrasal verb with an adverb, we could have an example such as give up, to give up. So it consists of the verb give and the phrasal verb up. So to give up, that's a phrasal verb. And another example with the verb give is to give in. Give in. So the verb is give, the preposition in, and they form the phrasal verb give in. So the individual words in a phrasal verb have their own definitions and their own meanings, but when combined to make a phrasal verb, the phrasal verb has its own meaning, which may be totally different from the definitions of the individual words that form the phrasal verb. So that's one thing to be careful about with phrasal verbs. You need to know the meaning of the entire phrasal verb and not the individual words in it in order to understand the meaning of them. So now people may ask, well, is it necessary to learn phrasal verbs? Well, it's important to learn phrasal verbs because when people speak English, especially when native speakers or other advanced speakers of English speak, they normally tend to use phrasal verbs naturally. And in order for you to understand what they're talking about, you need to know the meaning of the phrasal verbs that they're using. And also, if you want to speak very good English, very clear English, very advanced English, it's good to be able to know some phrasal verbs and to use them in your speech, and your speech will sound good, you sound clever, you sound like an advanced speaker of English. Now, let's look at some examples of some phrasal verbs. So at the beginning, we used two examples with the verb give. We had the phrasal verb to give in and the phrasal verb to give up. So when somebody gives in, what it means is they pretty much surrender, or they agree, they're meant to do something that they were not really willing to go to do. For example, if you say John gave in to the pressure to go to the club. John gave in to the pressure to go to the club. So John did not really want to go to the club, but he was pressured by his friends. He was convinced. He was his friends told him to go to the club. They kept telling him to go to the club, and in the end he decided, okay, all right, I'm gonna go to the club with you guys. So he gave in to the pressure to go to the club. So that's to give in, to surrender, to do something that you are not really willing to do. To give up is to quit, to stop something you were trying to do. For example, Peter gave up learning Spanish. Peter gave up learning Spanish. So Peter was trying to learn Spanish. He was maybe reading books, he was taking lessons, but he wasn't really learning Spanish. So then he stopped learning Spanish. He says, I quit, I'm no longer going to learn any Spanish. So he said, I give up. So to give up is to stop, to quit something that you've been trying to do, or something that you've been trying to achieve. So those are some phrasal verbs. So we've looked at the meaning of the phrasal verbs, we've looked at why we need to learn them, and we've looked at some examples of phrasal verbs, and hopefully you can use those phrasal verbs in your speech now to give up and to give in.